The presenting partner of today's episode is Saxton Speakers, Australia's leading speakers bureau. At Saxton, they know that the right speaker can be the most powerful part of any event, leaving a lasting impression that sticks with your audiences long after the final applause. With decades of experience, Saxton's team will match you with your perfect speaker, MC, or entertainer to elevate your event, delivering energy, insight, and inspiration like no else. Partner with Saxton and give your audience an experience they'll never forget.
We found a really frightening stat in 2017, which was 500 billion plastic bottles are made, 1 million a minute are sold, drunk and tossed, and about 7 to 12% of the ones that are recovered are recycled. That has probably doubled, if not tripled.
Welcome to Future Fit Leadership, a podcast for emerging, experienced and executive leaders to build community, grow capability and future focus their career pathways. There has been a global shift in how we lead, and our conversations with leaders and executives explores the skills, strategies and mindsets that is needed to thrive in this ever-evolving landscape of the future. So whether you are a seasoned executive, an aspiring leader, or simply curious about the future of leadership, we are here to give you practical insights to unlock your potential, change the status quo, and break open our assumptions on how work works. Produced in partnership with Future Leadership, a capability ecosystem for boards and executives, Future Fit Leadership is your place for bite-sized learning for executives hungry to make a change.
Hello and welcome to Future Fit Leadership. I hope wherever you are listening to this podcast, you are well. I'm your host, Sadhna Smiles. Imagine running a business where your business partners are your own children. Today's episode is not just another entrepreneurial story. It's a remarkable journey of a family, sustainability, and what happens when you take your kids' big ideas seriously. Nik Robinson, the founder of Good Citizens, a groundbreaking eyewear company that's quite literally turning plastic into treasure, and doing it with his wife and 2 sons as his core team. Nik and Josh have transformed their kids' childhood concern about plastic pollution into a seriously impressive, sustainable business. With Harry and Archie as unofficial board members who occasionally complain about child labour while packing boxes, Good Citizens isn't just another eyewear brand. They're on a mission to untrash the planet. 13-year-old Harry and his brother give input on balance sheets, polymer research and strategic decisions. These aren't just kids helping out after school. They're 25% stakeholders with a vote in every single company decision. But here's the truly inspiring part. This isn't just a business, it's a mission. Good Citizens has already transformed over 100,000 metres worth of plastic bottles into stylish, sustainable eyewear. That's like stretching plastic bottles twice as high as the stratosphere. And they're not just making glasses, they're educating thousands about sustainability, speaking to corporate leaders and providing that purpose-driven business isn't just possible, it's powerful. From winning international design awards, this family is showing that entrepreneurial spirit knows no age limit. Nik's leadership philosophy? Listen to everyone, especially the youngest voices in the room. His kids didn't just inspire the business, they co-created its entire mission of untrashing the planet. And in a world where most businesses talk sustainability, Good Citizens is actually walking the walk, creating products that are 100% recycled. Enjoy this extraordinary conversation about leadership, family, innovation, and how sometimes the most incredible ideas come from the most unexpected places, like a conversation around the family dinner table and taking your kids' ideas seriously about untrashing the planet. Well, hello, Nik Robinson. Great to have you on Future Fit Leadership. I have been looking forward to this conversation. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. As I just previously said, I was at a wedding, so I'm a bit hoarse because I was chatting to a lot of people and shouting.
And your hair still looks amazing from the hairstyle that you did.
Oh, look, yeah, you're dobbing me in now.
I am.
Because I borrowed, my wife said, you've got to make an effort and look cooler. So I put some of the kids' hair products in, didn't quite read the label, overdid it. And so my hair was set rock solid. Even this morning, I looked like a cartoon character. So I just have to scrub the hell out of it. But yeah,
Oh, well, it
glad
looks
we're talking
amazing.
about my hair. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, you're the co-founder of Good Citizens, and the partners in your business are your wife and your two children. A very different business. But before we go into how that all happened, it'd be great for our listeners to know exactly what Good Citizen does.
So Good Citizens has started out taking the most undesirable plastic trash and wanting to turn it into the most desirable products. And so we started with a plastic bottle, a 600 ml plastic bottle that's discarded, and we transform that in Sydney in the factory into a beautiful pair of eyewear frames where we can put sunglass lenses, reading lenses, and now online prescription lenses. We honestly thought, oh, this would be easy, and we thought we'd be on to product 3 by now, but it has proven so difficult that we are still mastering eyewear. There's 3 kind of arms to the business. One is obviously just what I explained, making products. The second is education. And so we spend a lot of time in schools, universities, talking to the students. We've also just become, I think it was last year, part of the Victorian Education Authority approached us and they put us on the curriculum and we're in the exam for HSC equivalent. So that's brilliant that right now as we're talking, there's kids in Australia studying the brand. And the third thing is we have businesses, big businesses and small businesses that come to us and say, this is our undesirable. What can you do with it? And so that's kind of the third wave of the brand.
Put some context around plastics, because when you do the research on it, there is an incredible amount of plastic bottles that are sold every year, and then a huge amount of it doesn't get to recycling. Can you share some numbers with our listeners around what that looks like?
Yeah, look, we found a really frightening stat in 2017, which was 500 billion plastic bottles are made, 1 million a minute are sold, drunk and tossed, and about 7 to 12% of the ones that are recovered are recycled. That has probably doubled, if not tripled.
In that time between
So,
2017 and now. Yeah.
So we've never had as much awareness on the planet of the plastic problem, but consumption is going crazy. So that's a scary stat, and that's the only real stat that we look at. It's frightening.
And I think a lot of brands claim that they recycle or they use recycled products, but the reality is it's not 100% recycle, which is what your products are. You are 100% recycle. A lot of other brands can claim it, but they only have a small percentage that's recycled.
Yeah, and you can kind of imagine, can't you? You go kind of the whole way. It's like saying you're an electric car, but actually 95% of the car is still run by a combustion engine, but the other 5% is an electric motor. We're 100% recycled. And there's brands out there that do say recycled, but there's probably about 5% recycled, which means 95% of it is virgin plastic. And my business partners and kids said to me at the beginning, if we only make it 5%, that means it's 95% of the problem that we're kind of trying to nail is unsolved.
Yeah.
So that's why it's taken us so long. And yeah, it gets kind of frustrating when you see another brand in all areas, not just eyewear, come up with some lofty claim. And sadly, consumers, they can't just believe it. They fall for it. And we're the ones that kind of, I guess, well, everyone suffers in the end because the planet is not getting better.
No.
People will realize they've been tricked and then they won't trust anybody.
Yeah.
And, I have some pretty high level conversations with some pretty high level people now in this country, in government, and won't name any other agency bodies, but, we have conversations because what I'm seeing is that actually they're reaching out to brands that are doing it right and want to understand how we do it so then they can actually use that as a benchmark. Because, we've been down this hole, this kind of a hellhole really for 5 years, and a brilliant hellhole, but we understand what's required to take that plastic, and we have some incredible kind of partners, access to some amazing technology so we can test polymers, and we're always testing products and we're always testing things, and it's amazing the results that come back from a lab to go, that's not what it says it is.
That's not what it says it is.
Right. So not naming any names, but we've got a pretty good knowledge base of what's going on in the market.
Yeah. So you've got 2 partners in your business who are your children. So 50% of your business is owned by your kids.
Technically, well, my wife and I own it 100%. legally they don't own it, but they have 25%.
They have 25% shareholding in it.
Yeah, each. They 25% say if anything would happen to me, then yes, they get it. That's written into the will. How sad is that, and how morbid? But they have 25% say in every decision each.
Right.
And what's interesting is I've heard them talking together in the garden, and it's like this management split, like I reckon we should say this. And I like that. I encourage that.
Yeah.
And there's a funny story of the kids at school. One of the parents rang me to say, I believe my son has bought 2% of the business for $5 and has a shareholder agreement letter. So the kids had gone to school and sold part of what they thought they owned of the business. And I thought it was great because they'd actually worked out what they bought it for now, what it might be worth. And they said in 10 years' time, it'd be worth $500. So I just love kids.
Love it. Love it. How did this idea originate? Like, did you sit around the dining room table? The kids come up with the idea? How do you end up in a business with your kids? I know, legally we understand the terminology behind it, doing what you do today.
Well, they were the inspiration. They were learning at school, and Harry had an incredible teacher that was very passionate and just decided to talk about it in the class. And he'd watched, they have access to YouTube, and they'd watched some David Attenborough snippets and then watched all the documentaries, and they kind of pieced it together and realized that the world is drowning in plastic. And for them, they don't have the adult brain where they can have perspective on what's actually going on. They just really deeply thought that the world was going to end. So they just came home and said, can we do something about it? And I was coming to the end of a consulting gig, and I just said, actually, I'll put a bit of time into this. It looks interesting. And that's how it just snowballed, because I said, actually, there's some potential. And we'd gone out as a family and we're collecting trash like anybody else does. We're just doing what most people would do if they saw some rubbish. We had this little collection. So we went and got it out of the garage and looked at it and found that plastic bottles were a big problem.
What I love about the background of this is you didn't actually start by saying, well, we're going to create sunglasses fully recycled. You actually started with a purpose. Can you share with us what that was? And I think the kids came up with that, didn't they?
No, they didn't come up with it. Actually, I was working with a guy called Mark, and he's an incredible strategist. And when we came up with the idea and we'd run it by the kids, Joss and I were a bit nervous, because you're always a bit nervous when you want to actually do something that's a bit out of left of field for your life. So we both rang a couple of people that we really respected, and one of them was a guy called Mark, and Mark came and chatted to us and said he thinks there's such potential in this. And he was also an amazing strategist, and he kind of helped us unpack this, and we got it to a line, which I'll say now, it was unfuck the planet. And Joss was like, we can't say that.
Can't say that.
We've got to go back and pitch this to two kids, which are 9 and 10 or 8 and 9. And it's like, yep, this is your business. We're going to have some unfuck the planet t-shirts. We're going to have some unfuck the planet stickers. You can give them to your mates at school. You can imagine the hoo-ha. And so Joss said, let's untrash the planet. And so she basically, this was like 2018 or something, right? It was a long time ago. And those 3 words are our rallying cry. So those 3 words are I guess, it's a principle, it's our purpose, and we run every decision, everything through that. And if we're adding to the trash, we stop. If we're untrashing the planet, we continue and try and optimize. So that's really, it's the thing that people get behind. It's the thing that they believe in. It's the action. And very thankful to Joss, very thankful to Mark.
Well, I think Untrash the Planet is a very more saleable tagline than the first one you perhaps came up with.
It's a bit like Nike, just do it, isn't it? But I'd love to be at that level one day, maybe, hopefully.
You also came up with 4 principles, which you wrote down and agreed to as you started on this journey. Share with my listeners what those 4 principles were.
Yeah, so when we had the idea, I was just trying to talk the kids out of doing this, because that's what adults do. They just kind of get stuck in their head. So I said, look, we need a business plan. And they were like, okay, write a business plan. I'm like, they're just going to fall asleep after 5 minutes of even looking at a business plan. So I said, let's write some rules, some principles. And we wrote 3. Only use 100% recycled waste. No one or the planet should be harmed, and it should be repairable. And Harry went, we need a 4th rule, which is everybody who works for us gets time with their loved ones. And we kind of stopped and went, what do you mean? And he said, well, my friends at school don't see their parents because their parents work really hard and they come in, they have dinner, they get back on their laptop. So we shouldn't have that in our business. And that has become an incredibly centering principle, that last one, because it is so easy to work 7 days a week. I am absolutely guilty as charged. But as, you know, the founder of the business, often is nobody else that's in charge, you know, running so many parts of the business. Joss is running her half of the business. And throughout the year, when we're in production or design or, you know, polymer research, it all kind of comes through me. I'm the gatekeeper. So I'm constantly, we work with different people all around the world on different time zones. So that's difficult. But people that work for us in the factory, people that do, you know, work in the workshop, they don't work weekends. It's just a principled rule.
It's amazing how you can see things differently from the eyes of kids, isn't it? Because if you'd had adults sitting around the table and somebody had come up with that idea, we perhaps wouldn't have paid as much attention to it.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's, people just think it's really good to work nonstop, and it proves. Now, I remember working in London many years ago when I was starting out my career in advertising. And unless you did 2 or 3 all-nighters a week, you weren't really a good creative. And I look back now and go, what a terrible culture. But seriously, what a terrible culture, you know, to run something like that, because we never stop thinking. You know, business people, creative people, founders, entrepreneurs, they don't work 9 to 5. They never stop thinking. They're always on. And, you know, at least just try and give yourself a break and spend some time with somebody else. That's, yeah, that's the 4th rule.
I have to take my hat off to you, Nick, because I think as parents, you know, kids come to us with ideas all the time, and maybe we pay attention to it, but we don't really turn every idea into a business idea like you did. And I think it takes a lot of courage as a parent to actually back it in and do it. Did you have nights where you woke up and thought to yourself, what the hell have I done?
Oh, nights every week.
Every week.
So COVID happened and everybody's working and living in the same house. You know, parents are one desk on the kitchen table, one desk in the bedroom, kids are there, dogs are yapping. Well, that's just been our life for the last 5 years. And whilst, you know, Joss and I, probably people go, wow, they're listening to their kids. Our kids are also experiencing things that not other kids get to experience, which is, okay, are we going to make the mortgage this month? Okay, have we got enough money for all the stock that's coming in that we're, you know, we're putting orders in, we're making in the factory, we need to buy lenses from Zeiss. You know, what's our cost of goods? How are we managing cash flow? The kids can come in from school, they can walk into the workshop on the way home, they can get onto Shopify, and they can look at the dashboard and just stare at us and go, where's the sales? Or we've had a great sales day, can we go out for a pizza? Right. And so, yeah, it's all a bit too close. And I sometimes feel quite guilty that they know too much, but they're getting a kind of different education. We just have to, Joss and I have had to really kind of put some rules into place that once we're home, we try not to talk about work.
How do you keep your kids balanced? I mean, it's one thing to keep adults balanced where you don't work 24 hours and you spend time with family, etc. How do you, when your kids are quite young, so how do you keep them balanced between it's time to play cricket at school or on a weekend versus how many sales have we had?
Yeah, it's difficult because, and I know whoever's listening to this now who runs their own business, depending on the sales you get for the day, can change your mood. And I know people say, "Oh, it shouldn't be like that," but if you get, you know, three terrible sales days, there's so much technology and analytics. It's like panic time. So that's difficult because the mood. I'm very guilty. The mood of the family can change. Even the dog will run for cover some days if it's not all firing. How do we manage it? We had Joss's old boss from London come and stay with us, and he noticed that Harry was getting a little bit stressed a few years ago when we were at dinner talking about something. What I was talking to Harry about was we needed to make some new colors, and I was just offering him some color chips that we'd done in the factory as an experiment. And he noticed that Harry was particularly anxious about his response. And so what we think is just isolated, pick a color. Harry actually felt that if he got the wrong color, it would make the sales season a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we learned then, okay, whatever we do, we've got to make fun. And so we never don't tell them things, but we try and frame it in a way that's positive. Right. So we've had lots of failures in this business, but I'll say, look, every no has got us closer to a yes. Look at all the lessons we've learned. So that's what I try and do. Whether I'm successful at doing that with the kids, I don't know. They're pretty happy. Like, they don't have to work in the business. Like,
Well,
I'm doing, yeah.
You failed 2,500 times. That's a lot of times to fail,
It's
pick
actually,
yourself
yeah,
up and go again.
it's actually more because we moved house recently, and Harry and I had squirreled away 3,000 other failed attempts in the loft, which
Right.
Joss didn't know about. But 2,500-ish failed attempts. Yeah, it is a lot of failed attempts. But we started at zero, as in we really had no idea what we were doing. I guess if another person who's a polymer expert who also wants to make a fashion item, they may have a better run rate than us. But now we're absolute experts because we know how not to do it. And I can literally look at a product and I can just analyze it and understand where issues are and where issues will come from. Or if they've made that product look that good, it is not recycled material.
So where you started, where you are today, what's your success runway look like? I mean, how many people do you employ? How many shops are you in? What does it look like today from where you started with the four of you working from home?
So we have a couple of helpers that actually come to the workshop and assemble. And that doesn't sound many people, but I've been talking to some other traditional eyewear brands around the world. And to do the same volume that we do, they've got a full-time team of about 15 in the workshop.
Right.
So what we did was we've designed out the labor. So we can make a pair of frames in the factory in under a minute, and then the pieces come to the workshop and they can be assembled by hand in under 20 seconds. Right. So Harry and Archie have on a Saturday made 450 pairs.
Wow.
Just sitting there mucking about, they're getting distracted. And the only reason they did that was because I'd injured myself. And so I couldn't, my hand was knackered and they helped me out. So we've got a couple of helpers that do that. When we are doing production runs in the factory, we have two people. And, it's people go, it's interesting. People want to judge your success by the amount of people you employ. And I find that really interesting.
Yep.
And I don't know, it's very small, yet we can do a lot. And we also have an amazing dispatch and kind of place where all our stock is kept, and they're people with disability and their carers. And so there's about 4 people with disability, and there's about 6 carers, right? And they're paid. NDIS support that, and then we pay the kid with the disability for everything that they do on that day. And that's kind of worked out on a box and item. And so they do all our dispatch. We've got the factory guys and we've got the people in the workshop. And then Joss and I will manage the business. And then we have a social media agency. And there's someone that runs that agency. And then we've got 2 or 3 people working across Google and Meta. And we do our own Klaviyo. Like, that's just something we've kind of picked up on ourselves. And then we have our plastic collecting partner. And then that's something we just fund. And we have also our carbon offsetting partner, but they're not that we give a portion of our sale to those people. But it's a very nimble team, but it's one that could scale. So if you think about it, if we get 1 extra helper in the workshop, then we can triple volume.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. But but we've got a process that doesn't require people, and we've even been working to try and build a robot which can replace. And I know the people saying, "Oh, you can't do that." But, I'd rather put people in a job that's actually really enjoyable and that actually uses them for their skill set. And I do love the precision of robots. We have 3 robots in the factory, and they're called, one's called Hugh, one's called Robin, one's called Andy. And the kids name those 3 robots after the first 3 citizens that bought our product. And there's a little sticker on them. I think that's brilliant.
That's brilliant. That's
right.
Brilliant.
But that saves us time and manufacturing time.
Yeah.
And energy. So
yeah, I want to pick up on that because when I was doing my research to have this conversation with you, and I'll confess I've ordered my first pair of sunglasses, because what I love about is that you have a terminology called bum proof. And I think everyone listening to this will know that most of the time we break our glasses because either we sit on them or somebody else sits on them. I don't know how many glasses my partner has broken because of that. But because every one of your part is replaceable, I can just email you or connect with you and say, hey, this part is broken and you can replace it for me. So technically, I never have to throw that pair of glasses out. Now, has anyone ever said to you that you can't make something that good?
I was talking at South by Southwest last year, and someone asked me this exact question. And it was someone who's obviously super smart, venture capital person, said it was a retailable business model. They were looking to invest in us. And I was like, okay, I didn't actually ask you whether we were looking for investment, but I'm honored and flattered. And actually, I was quite frightened because I actually wasn't sure what I was meant to do with the money if they did give us it.
If they
It was
did
like,
give it to you.
yeah, it was like, everyone seems to be so buttoned down in this world and they've got all these really extensive plans and know exactly where they're doing and doing what. But we were just in the fun stage and I was like, okay, yep. But, they said it was a bit of a terrible business model because one person can buy a pair of glasses and then they just get replacement parts as they break. And I was like, yep. So now we've kind of changed that a bit. So we do replace parts, but we've actually uploaded onto our website a spared part. You can pimp your own glasses. And so now you've got a mix, you've got like 10 different arm colors. We've got about 9 different clip hinge colors. And so you can go in and buy a pair of clips for $4.99, which is nothing really.
I did that. I bought another pair of clips on the way. Yep.
Yeah. And it's funny because someone said, you can't charge $4.99 for something that small. And I said, yeah, but for me to get you at that price, I'm making 30,000. Right, it's called a volume game, and the effort and work gone into doing that. So it's interesting. So yeah, if a pair breaks, so we actually have done some research because we have a complaints department, which we love, and when we get complaints, it's just brilliant because it's an opportunity to turn that really angry person, if they're rude, even better. I love dealing with it, into really positive fans. It's like they go from one end of the pendulum, or whatever you call it, and the metronome, and swing over. And then if you get it right, they love you to death. But dogs seem to eat a lot of glasses. It's
Really?
weird. Yeah. Like we must have had about 10, 15 people say my dog has just munched on the glasses. Quite a few have ended up in the sea, lost and with drunken activities. And we've had people asking us if we can put a special radar system in. We've even looked at that, but then it doesn't make it recyclable.
No.
You've got an electronic component. So whilst we've really wanted to do that and we've explored it, it kind of goes against the principles. But yeah, if you break a part, you send it, we pay you to get that part back. That gets ground up and we send you a new part and you fix it yourself.
And every pair has a number written on it in terms of what number customer you are. Is that correct? So
not on the frame, because
not on the frame?
On the frame, but it's a digital population.
Right.
So when you make a purchase, you get welcomed through an email series and the little population counter goes up. But we realized early on as a bit of a glitch that if you've bought and you buy again, you don't get another number. And one person came and bought 350 pairs. And so on our population counter, it's just like one person, but actually that person's given them to 350 staff as like a Christmas gift. And we're like, okay, we didn't capture. So then we've put a little card in the box now saying, if you've been given these or you bought them in a retail environment, please register. Just please come and become a citizen so we can capture who you are.
Can I ask how in the early days you funded the business?
We personally funded it because Joss and I are quite reserved people. We're pretty, we're not flamboyant, and we were thinking about being truly honest. Just we wanted to get another we had a house and we was like, look, it's time to upgrade from when Joss and I were just living together and before kids came along, and we were all squashed into this little house, and so we'd saved up a deposit, and we sat down together and went, do we use this deposit or do we go and buy another house? Sell our house and buy another one. And we all agreed, let's use $20,000 of the deposit. And so we did that. And then we got to a point where we're like, okay, we've got a cool design. Let's get a machine made. And then that was another 56,000. So now we're at 86,000. And then we're like, okay, we've made the machine. We need to do this. And then the machine didn't work. And so we self-funded, partly because we didn't want to ask anybody for any money, because we wanted to focus and not feel guilty if it all went wrong. If it went wrong, it's on me and it's on
on you.
Joss.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to waste. And I think like a few friends that were pretty savvy were following this going, we really want to invest. We want to buy 5% of this business. And I was just really nervous about it, A, because they're friends, and B, it would become a distraction. Because then all of a sudden you start to feel a bit guilty maybe that these people might lose their money. So yeah, we've not done any fundraising. No, we've taken no private equity, no venture capital, no nothing. We've just funded our growth. But we are now looking and we are talking and we want to scale this thing.
You've had some fun things happen along the way. There was the Harrods window and a whole bunch of other stuff. You are quite often seen on stage with your son. Talk us through some of the fun stuff that that has come your way through this.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's some of the people that we've met, some of the people we've just had a conversation with. So Selfridges gave us the window in London. That was just a ridiculous thing to happen, because
pretty
that's
awesome.
it's like one of the most, probably they've been voted the best department store in the world 4 times. And I happened to be in London on a particular day when a particular guy who runs the eyewear game for the biggest eyewear brand in the world just emailed me and said, I want to have coffee with you. Had coffee at Selfridges. The general manager walks past, sees me literally with a Post-it note, a plastic bottle and a piece of glasses and a pair of glasses in bits, in deep conversation, and walked past and said, what's this? Told the story. And then Selfridges reached out and said, we'd love to give you a window. And, we couldn't afford, but they gave it to us for free. And they gave us this amazing, so that kind of spurs you on. The kid, we've had phone calls from the Prime Minister's office, and the kids and I and Joss went to meet the Prime Minister. And it's funny, he came across to talk to me, and I kind of said I'd like to talk to my business partners, and Harry just gave him all hell. Like, this is where we are. This is what we need to be doing. This is what's not happening in Australia for recycling. And it's funny because adults have to actually stop and watching a Prime Minister put his hands in his pockets and look a bit awkward is quite funny.
Gold, absolute gold.
So, and then, 4 months ago, we saw an airmail envelope in the letterbox at home, and it was a letter from David Attenborough. I've never said that publicly, and we've had lots and lots of interactions with people like that that have written to us because they're like, we've just heard about this story. Is it real? Like, it's fantastic. So that was a lovely surprise because Harry, had written to him and he'd written to David 4 years ago, and they'd already had an email and a letter back. This was a second letter. And it's just great for Harry. And I say to the kids, you're inspiring people because you've been inspired. Never stop. You must always stop for a second and think, okay, who's inspired me? Should I actually tell them? So I always encourage the kids to write letters to people because it's always nice for someone to receive a letter. They now get letters from people, lots of kids. This morning, a kid from Rose-based schools written to me saying, can I help him with 5 questions? And I will make half an hour tonight time to answer those 5 questions. And I think it's important that you always should reach out to people or say thank you to people. And so, there's a couple of highlights. There's some highlights. I mean, You've
also been awarded Australia's most awarded eyewear. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, we won the Good Design Best in Class Objects Award about 3 years ago. We got a Fashion Gold. Last year we won the Marie Claire in the UK Best Fashion Accessory. We've picked up quite a few awards, and it's funny because the only reason we get the awards is because we've done something different. Right, we've just looked at eyewear differently, and we've looked at materials differently. And so, we've just picked up a whole load of stuff. And I used to be in advertising, and that's such a game where everyone wants to talk about their awards. And I just was not interested. But the kids sat me down and said, Dad, we've beaten everybody with a plastic bottle. So this is good for the world. And so, we've become the most awarded eyewear prescription readers brand in Australia. Doesn't make us huge, but it just means that what we're trying to do is important.
Yeah. You talk about learning to say no to things and knowing when to say that. I'd love to dig into that a little bit. Learning how to say no, I think for a lot of leaders is really critical, because if it doesn't fit in with your purpose or your vision or where you're heading, then there's no point in saying yes to everything. But on the flip side, how do you know what to say yes to? And you go back to the original conversation with your kids around, we are going to do this, and saying yes to that takes a lot of courage and confidence around what you want to be able to do. So talk to me about both sides that scale, when to say no, but also when to say yes.
Yes, that's a good question. So I can give you a brand came to us a year after we were formed and asked us if they could be involved. And I rang my mum, right? Only because I'd rung my 3 advisors and they didn't answer the phone. And I rang mum. I said, Mum, what do you reckon? This brand has reached out and they want to do X, Y, Z. And mum went, oh, no. And she just got into my head and she's like, no, they're not good people. And she was right. They weren't particularly on brand. So I wrote an email, ran it by Joss, declined the offer, of which our accountant said, that's a ridiculous decision because that's all your sales for the next like year and a half, 2 years in one thing done. Like seriously. And then 24 hours later, all 3 advisors rang back and said, absolutely, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And you're like, bad luck, the email's gone.
So I said, why? And they said, because you have to appreciate that everyone's on a journey and you're actually going to help this business get further on that journey. But my rationale I kind of still stood by was we were too early as a brand, and people would have said, who didn't want to invest the time to read a bit more, oh, you've sold out because you're working with the devil. So I still kind of think it was the right decision. Now, as we've kind of in market 5 years, we've got a track record, we've got a run rate. And so we do talk to lots of brands. And we had a brand approach this last year who are truly, what they do is terrible for the planet. But I was really interested in turning their really terrible products into a pair of eyewear frames. It was truly like, it kills people. And I said, wouldn't it be great if we could do that? And like Joss and the kids were like, no, Dad, that's just wrong. But I said, but if we can work with them, then surely we can help turn what's going on. It didn't work out in the end, but I was more open to it because people would be less judgmental and say, okay, you're not selling out. You've got to. So that's kind of, it's changed a little bit, and we are prepared to work with people, but we don't want to be used as oh yeah, let's sprinkle a bit of goodness and a bit of greenwashing by teaming up with us.
What about the impact you've had 5 years on? And you've done a lot around, particularly the recycle space in terms of the bottles that you've used, but you also remove trash. So tell us about the impact that you've had over the last 5 years.
Yeah, so for every pair that we make, 1 bottle for the frame, for the case, and the little clips that go in is 2.5 bottles in the cleaning cloth. So 3.5 bottles per pair is actually used and transformed into something new. We pay an organization to remove 0.5 kilo per pair. This month, for November, it's 1 kilo because we do Black Friday very differently at Good Citizens. And so we've added up, Harry did some sums, and then I got one of my CFO mates to check it because it didn't look real. But if you laid every bottle end to end that's been through the business, it's way over 100,000 meters.
Wow.
Which is, Harry said that the guy that jumped out, Felix, of a hot air balloon or something for Red Bull, we've gone 2 and a bit time, we're twice him into the stratosphere. And so literally, we kind of do right to our citizens and to say that your 3.5 bottles plus your 25 have got us to space. Whilst we're saving the planet or trying to save it, we ain't going to do it on our own.
No.
So that's a kind of a nice measurement. But we're truly aware that we cannot solve this. But one of our parts of our business is education, and Harry and I, we were in Brisbane last week. We talked to Allianz Insurance the week before. I think it was 4,000 people that we spoke to. So there's a kid, he's 13, he's on stage, he's just sharing a story, and adults are listening, and chief sustainability officers are listening and saying to their staff, see, there's good stuff in this, we can do good stuff. So we have been fortunate, to kind of track the impact of some of those conversations, and some big businesses have written to us with some stats to say, because you came and spoke to our leadership team, or because you spoke to our staff, there's been this internal change, and we've actually changed our business model where now we don't even need a new business team because our product is in such demand. We don't need new business. Right. And so Untrash the Planet has inspired lots of businesses. So it's a different kind of impact.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Hopefully alive.
Well, let's assume that you are.
Sane would be good. I don't know. I've always been too focused on the future and not living in the now. So I've actually, if we can carry on at the same level, then we'll still be happily all working, and the team will have grown and our sales will have grown. I would hope we've got some new products in market, and we're doing lots of research on that, but it costs so much money to R&D and bring a new product to market. So the brand isn't an eyewear brand. The brand takes the undesirable trash of the world and transforms it. And if, we're talking to 2 companies at the moment and we're trying to get them to put some investment in to turn their waste into good. If we can get 1 or 2 of those across the line, and all of a sudden, and they're big businesses, but with big businesses takes a lot of time and a lot of people to, get together at their end.
What do you think Harry would say if I asked him the same question?
Joss and I were just talking about this. He's really interested in engineering, and he's just a normal kid. And literally, I had to go out and tell him off before because I found a leaf blower on the back of my wife's bike, a petrol one. They've strapped it on and they're trying to turn it into a car. And so he's built a rocket launcher recently that fires potatoes out of something. And this is it. He earns money from his public speaking. And so he's got that in an account, and he went to the hardware store, spent 30 or 90 bucks on some piping and all this and paint. And he's just into that kind of crazy. He likes engineering. He likes design. He's got an incredible design eye. Archie's hilarious. He's a really funny character, and he has a different set of skill sets. So I don't know where Harry and Archie will be. I don't know, but I do know that they've learned an incredible amount.
What amazing skill sets that they've learned in this journey for when they're adults, right?
They don't know what they've learned yet until they probably go to a job and someone says, you need to work out cost of goods. Oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah. I can work out a balance. I can look at the balance sheet. I can look at the forecasting. They know what. It's quite strange when you're chatting with your kids and they go, yeah, Dad, but you haven't taken the GST off. So that's a different figure. Like, who knows that at 13?
At 13, yeah. Most adults don't know that.
Even I struggle with what's net and what's gross. And they're like, Dad, net is what's left in the net when you pull it out of the water.
Love it.
Duh. It's like, yeah.
How do you deal with disagreements? Because there must be times when the kids think that you should be going in a different direction to where you believe you should be going. How do you deal with disagreements?
Well, the big vision of the business, we kind of talk to them about it, and we present options, right? Because ultimately they're kids. There hasn't really been many disagreements, to be honest, because we're just really happy we're still in business. I mean, it's a pretty tough climate. Yeah. We're just happy every time the sales thing goes ding, and we're really happy when, we're moving forward. So there's not been that many disagreements. We've got a kind of couple of advisors, and there's been some pretty interesting conversations, and there'll be people listening to your podcast, that you can present to 3 different advisors and they'll all say a different thing. How do you manage that? And they all go, absolutely, you've got to launch that product, and you've got to do this. And it makes sense in that moment. And then you come back and you're like, oh, is that right? And so, Joss and myself have complete visibility over how we're feeling, what's in the business, what's happening in the market, what's happening with our partners. It's very hard to kind of tell that to the kids and to other people. So, yeah, we don't really have many disagreements. And sometimes we've had the kids and Joss gang up on me, but ultimately I'm the one, but it's good. It's really good. Someone once said to me, it's called the tailor's dummy syndrome or something, where even if you have to pull it together a presentation and present to some tailor's dummies, you still have to go through the act of creating a presentation and doing all the thinking. Those dummies might not talk back to you, but you've had to actually put the work in. Yeah, so we do kind of monthly meetings with the kids, and we do pull together a little presentation, and we do present it to them. And just that simple act, to tell them where we're at. This is a snapshot.
So that's interesting, because you still have the same rigors that most businesses, well, all businesses should have, and most businesses do have, which is, you get together on a regular basis, you look at your sales, you look at your cost of goods, you look at your P&L. And you started this business 5 years ago. So Harry's 13 now. He was what, 7 then?
8. Yes, 6, 7. Yeah, I'm dyslexic, so I think 7. Yeah.
7. And I'm terrible at maths. I find it fascinating that they've grown up in this world of numbers and business and balance sheets and P&Ls, and yet they also have the flip side of going to school and, strapping a blower to your, motorbike or whatever, wife's bike,
push bike.
etc. Yeah. What does a normal day look like in your family?
Arguing when I say to them, right, get off TV, get off YouTube, get downstairs, make 100 boxes, do this, do that. Oh, Dad, this is child labor. It's pretty funny, right?
Child labor in your own business, kid.
Yeah. I don't know, it's our chaos. It's our chaos. And people say to Joss, how do you work with Nick? And it's like, yeah, it's quite easy, because once you ignore him when he's doing his certain rants around the workshop or the factory, it's totally, we all bring the best out in each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, normal day. It's like, even the kids' friends, that they'll come in and go, can I earn $10 an hour, Nick? And Archie has outsourced Harry a few times because he can do my hours. It's funny, the way they look at it is, if they need something, like they want to go to the beach and buy a cup of ice cream to their mates, they'll come in and do 2 hours work and get $20. Right, so there's that kind of currency where that equals 5 ice creams.
Yeah,
pretty funny.
Yeah.
But to them, a little bit of work equals some fun.
Yeah.
But we don't force them to do it.
What is your advice to parents who have kids who come to them with an idea and say, we want to do this? What do you think, Mum and Dad? What's your advice to? Because I'm sure it happens to so many parents. What's your advice to them?
Don't do it.
Come on.
Well, it's like, I don't know. Where are the parents at? Because ultimately, if I'd carried on in my career and Joss had carried on in her career, we would have had a very different life. But this has been an interesting kind of 5 years, and I hope it continues. I think just give it the time to listen. So I recently spoke to one of the kids' schools, and they actually set an entrepreneur project up where all the kids went away for 6 weeks and created a product. And then I went back and looked at some of the products. And where we live, it's funny, like all the kids just randomly come up to me in the street, and then their parents go, oh, you're the guy that went and spoke at the school. And some of the projects that the kids came up with, I can see real potential. Like there was 5 or 6 projects where I went, wow, I want to try and get that into the front of someone at Woolies, because that's a really interesting thing.
Imagine you could become an incubator for kids with great ideas.
Yeah. So then I spoke to someone here, and they're like, can we have a whip round? Because there's a lot of people where we live that have probably got quite a bit of money and a board. And you seem to have all these kids that have got all these ideas. And my wife's like, no, Nick's busy enough as it is. But I'd say to parents, listen to the idea and just have the conversation and get some paper out and just talk about it. And I don't know what the skill sets of a parent are. One might be fantastic at finances. One might be it's a little exercise to go through as an adult. And actually you have permission to fail, because the audience is your child. And it's just an interesting exercise. And you probably find 9 times out of 10, the kid will lose interest within a week. Let's just be honest. Just so happened that I'm quite self-motivated, and Harry was very self-motivated. And Joss was like, okay, this is interesting. We're prepared to risk a house deposit here. But yeah, I'd just say, give it some time. Talk to them, sit down, scribble on bits of paper. Don't get a laptop out. Just scribble, talk, share, and just see where the idea goes. You never know.
Put a plan together and see where it lands.
Yeah, because also these kids are into technology. And so now Harry can come down and say, oh, I've looked at this app idea and I've gone online and I'm using this free app builder and I've built out the app. of not even a wireframe. He's built the app in an environment, and I'm looking at it going, wow, okay, yeah, this is a prototype. This is an MVP. And he's like, what's an MVP? It's a minimal viable product. And he's like, okay. You know, I remember, Ray, just very quickly, I remember Dropbox, I heard this story that they were going around trying to get investment and no one would give them investment. And they were down to their last penny. So they created a video, and it was a video of what will be. You put this thing in a box. It was a promotion video, and they just sent it to people, and everyone was like, oh, where can I get this? So they'd come up with all the technical stuff, all the jargon, all the planning and all this. And in the end, they spent their last bit of money on a video that said, this is a box where you put it in, and then it's accessible on your phone, on your laptop, on your desktop in real time. And they're like 50,000 orders came in. I get it. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to have solved the problem with your kid, but it might inspire you.
Nik, where can we buy your products? Where's the best place for us to go to buy your products?
If you want sunglasses and prescription and reading glasses, you go to goodcitizens.com.au. So goodcitizens.com.au. And then we've got goodcitizens_official on Instagram. And you can just go there. If you go to our website, we've got, I think, 20 stockists around the country. We've got more coming online. And you can, we've got a virtual try on. We've got a try at home system where you can get 2 pairs, try them on, send them back for free if it doesn't work for you. So we're just trying to embrace online purchasing for people and make it really easy. But our website.
Nik, thank you for your time. Great story. All the best to you and the family in the next stage of the business. And, I hope that you get more and more people coming online and the kids pack more and more boxes.
That's very kind. And thank you for your time. I hope it's been an interesting conversation for everyone that's listening.
It's been a great conversation. Thank you.
If you like what you've heard, please share, rate and review this podcast. And don't forget to share it with anyone who might benefit from hearing it. The producer of Future Fit Leadership is Maritza Barone from Guide Your Light Network. If you would like to reach out to me, please DM me on any of my social media platforms. I'm available for speaking at conferences or consulting to your business. Future Fit is created in partnership with Future Leadership, a capability ecosystem for boards and executives. If you'd like to join the community and receive a free takeaway each week, sign up to the Future Exchange app in my show notes. Thank you for having me in your space.
This is a Guide Your Light Network production, creating podcasts with purpose.